Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the van build series. If you're new here, hello, my name is Elias. I'm an amateur landscape photographer. I'm based out of the Pacific Northwest. And this is still in the beginning phases of the van rebuild, the 2003 Mercedes Sprinter T1N rebuild, reconversion, as I gutted it from its previous conversion and started from scratch. This is episode 3, and I'm just gonna be honest, there's nothing cool about this episode at all. There's nothing sexy about it, nothing exciting. It is just a MaxxAir Fan install. Nothing about it screams exhilaration at all in the slightest. But it is an important part of the van build, so that's why I'm doing a video on it, because mine was kind of unique. With all that said, again, this is the very beginning of the van build. If you want to go ahead and hit the subscribe button and follow along, I'm going to be putting out an episode every single week. Some of it of what my main channel is about, which is my Pacific Northwest landscape photography, but a lot of it is right now, at least for the next 14 episodes, is gonna be the van build series. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. So like I said, I'm dealing with a previously built out van that had a pre-cut hole for where they had their fan was. Their fan was just a normal vent. It was just hand open and close crank, no power to it. And I wanted to have the MaxxAir Fan that has power. It is the standard in all van builds. It's what everybody uses. Links for the product down below. It does help me out. I do appreciate that. A couple things I wanted to point out that they did that they should not have done is, one, they didn't have any kind of nailer that they screwed down to. They just used the van skin and the van skin alone and a million screws to hold that fan on. Do not recommend doing that. The skin is nothing. There's nothing structural about it. It's not structurally sound. It is just a paper thin, very thin metal that coats the van. I would not at all suggest mounting anything directly to the van of this magnitude. Second is they painted nothing. They cut the metal, they exposed everything with screws inside. They had obvious access to paint it. They didn't paint anything, so it was super rusty. So I just wanted to point it out before we start. Now, in your van build, you're probably going to have to cut your own hole, and in mine, I just had to make the existing one bigger. I was stuck where mine is at. And just real quick, it's not that hard. You just take the flange that holds your actual MaxxAir Fan that you will see later, and all you do is put it on top of the roof and mark it. Put masking tape all the way around the outside of your line that you marked. Drill a hole in each corner with just a fat enough drill bit that's gonna have your jigsaw blade go to. And then you literally just put your jigsaw down and cut the hole out. Nothing super fancy about it, just what you do. And then you're just gonna paint the exposed metal all the way around with some kind of paint. I show mine, I used a spray paint. Just wanted to throw that out. I also, in my van, had a flat surface. Your van might have ribs throughout the van. You can cut through the ribs, it's not a big deal. You will have to infill those, which I will talk about later. I just wanted to say that before we get started. So first, I just wanna go over everything you need. Obviously, you will need the MaxxAir Fan unit itself. It comes with a bunch of different items. First thing you're gonna need is the actual MaxxAir Fan itself. Now, it's just one big unit. It comes with 2 other parts that you're gonna need. We'll get to that in a second. Nothing special, just the MaxxAir Fan itself. When you do install it, you want to make sure that you rotate this to the open position, and you can just move it by hand and just make sure it's open so you can actually install the insert that goes into here. Second piece is the flange that actually goes through your van and connects to the MaxxAir Fan. Now, I dry fitted this on there before I did this video, and you'll see there's 4 clips. There's 2 on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Something about these clips is that when they clip into the bottom, I'll show you in a second, these metal clips don't line up very well. This is actually supposed to be pressed down all the way. I found that if you pull them up 1/8 of an inch, you get a little bit more clearance to get a bolt started in there. Now, you don't need it to be perfect because the bolts will grab no matter what, but you need to get them started. I found that I couldn't even get them started unless I put these clips up just a little bit. Third piece that comes with it, I actually left at home because I'm not gonna need it, and you're actually not gonna need it until you do your ceiling. So it is just the bottom flange that comes up. It comes super thick, like 6 inches thick. Pretty much you fit it, you cut it to size, you install it, just gives it a nice trim piece on the bottom end when you're done doing your ceiling. Comes with a bag of assorted bolts. I'm pretty sure there's only 3 different types in here. There's gonna be some for your fasteners to fasten the flange down, 4 fasteners to connect the actual MaxxAir Fan to the flange, and then 4 fasteners to connect your bottom flange to your substrate on whatever you're gonna be putting it on. And also, last but not least, the instructions. I've read these, they're pretty useful. But yeah, it always helps to have a video to kind of show how to put it on. Also, it comes with these wire connectors that we'll use when I do my electrical video. You're gonna need an impact that will screw down Phillips type screws. Some kind of spray paint. I just used some Rust-Oleum primer paint, just something to cover the metal. You will need a butyl tape. Now, I used the only butyl tape I had at the moment. I got it from Home Depot. It was like 1/4 inch butyl tape. You want something hefty, like 1 inch butyl tape. And I will link down below what you should use and what I wish I used. And I will also link what I used that I got at my Home Depot. Because I used a 1/4 inch butyl tape, I had to run a line around it, and then do another line and fill it in until it finally reached an inch, a little over an inch, to cover the whole flange of the MaxxAir Fan to give it a good seal. This creates a gasket. That is the whole purpose of the butyl tape. It also serves as an infill if you cut your rooftop in the rivets section. So those low points, I see so many people filling those low points with some kind of caulking. Do not do that. That is the worst thing you can do. I'm an average Joe building out this van. I know nothing about this kind of stuff, but what I do know is, because I work for a roofing company, is water intrusion into your roof. Caulking is a maintenance item. Caulking is not meant to last forever. It is meant to deteriorate over time, and you will have to replace it. Lap sealant, caulking, any of that kind of stuff, you do not want to build that up in the low spot of your rivet to stop water from coming in. You use butyl tape, you put it in there, and you build it up like Play-Doh, just kind of mold it in there, and it builds it up and creates a good seal. Use butyl tape. You're gonna need some type of lap sealant. I really like this marine grade stuff from Loctite. It is super strong, it's super good. It's expensive, but for good reason, and I will talk more on that later in the video. Some kind of caulking gun, obviously, for your lap sealant. A generic Sharpie to mark out things that you're gonna be cutting. Phillips head screwdriver, because you're gonna have to hand screw some stuff. You're gonna need a drill, along with some assorted drill bits. One tiny one to screw some pilot holes for your screws to screw your flange down. And if you're going to be cutting out your entire hole, you're gonna need a giant screwdriver that's at least as big as your jigsaw blade, so you have a starting point in all four corners. I did introduce a roofing product into this MaxxAir Fan that I'll talk about now. It is called Waterblock. It is a compression seal sealant. It creates like a double layer of a gasket underneath that butyl tape. I'll talk about it right now. The other component I'm gonna be adding is this stuff we call Waterblock or Water Stop. This is a roofing product, and what it is a compression sealant. It only works if you compress whatever you're applying it to, which we will be, because we'll be screwing the fan down, compressing it to the van. This is just a kind of belt and suspenders thing that I'm gonna do, because like I said, the butyl tape that I'm using, I'm gonna be pushing it together. It's not one continuous piece, just a little extra safety. You're gonna need some wood blocking underneath, and you can do whatever you want. You don't have to build it out to be level where your furring strips, your overhead furring strips are gonna be, because you can always just build it out later. I still don't know what I'm gonna be using as my furring strips, so I'm just gonna be using this 1x1 as blocking underneath. And here you can see me struggling to try to get this 1/4" butyl tape all the way around to create at least a 3/4 to a 1" butyl tape gasket, which is what I wish I had. Again, product link down below of what I should have got, or what you should get if you're gonna be doing this. All right, so first things first, we gotta take this old crappy one out, get it out of the way. We're gonna clean it up as much as possible. We're gonna put our marks to mark the new flange for the vent. This hole's actually a little bit bigger than I thought. It's just barely not big enough, so I'm only gonna have to take off a little bit. So what I did was put the actual face down, and I just marked the inside with a Sharpie along the edges. Give me a nice line to go for. It doesn't have to be perfect, because again, it's gonna be covered. It doesn't really matter if it's perfect, but you wanna get it close. Really wish I brought my jigsaw with me this day. Unfortunately, all I have was the trusty old end grinder and some cutting discs. I don't recommend doing this. I did this because my van is old and it's obviously not in the best shape. If you have a brand new van, I would use what creates the least mess possible and sparks possible, which would be a jigsaw with a metal cutting blade. Just test fit it real quick to make sure it's all good, and we are all good. So now I'm going to do the step that they did not do, and that is to spray paint any bare metal showing so it does not rust. Again, I came ill prepared and did not grab my white primer, so I'm going to be using a gray primer. But again, this is going to be covered by the fan. I don't really care. Plus it's up top, and this whole van's going to get a paint job at some point anyways, so I don't really care right now. Now we are all cleaned up. This is going to be my belt and suspenders, the Waterblock. I'm going to just apply it to the rim on the butyl tape of this, and then we're going to insert it and screw it down. What this does, it's a compression adhesive, and it seals as it's compressed. It's just an extra step, because I don't trust it's not being continuous. You don't need much of this stuff because it spreads quick, and it's going to make a freaking mess. When you set this down, you want to make sure the orientation is right, and that is that these metal clips are on the driver and passenger side of your van. Not facing this way, facing this way. Clips on that side, clips on this side. Now we're gonna take our drill bit and our drill and pre-drill all of our holes. Now we're gonna put our blocking in, and I'm just going to set it in underneath, the screw in, screw it down. Final step for sealing it is going to be encapsulating it in this marine grain lap sealant. A lot of people use a self-leveling lap sealant that just makes like a freaking huge mess. I'm going to be using this marine grain stuff because it is very, very strong stuff. What people don't realize about any kind of caulking is that caulking is a maintenance item. It is not something that's supposed to last forever. So in time, the caulking job you do around this, you're going to have to go back up there and redo it. You're gonna have to scrape it all off and redo it because it does not last. It's gonna be in the elements, it won't last. So I suggest getting the best of the best to get the best bang for your buck and make it last longer. This stuff, this marine grade stuff is great. It's really strong. Any kind of maintenance item, stuff like that, I suggest you get the best of the best. So link in the description below, get the stuff, it works. If I was smart, I would have used a latex glove for this. Lastly, your screws. Your screws are technically penetrating through the roof. Now you do have all of that butyl tape and I put Waterblock in there, but again, we don't want any chances. So I'm just gonna go through and just seal up each screw because in reality, you really should never have to take this fan cover off ever again. All right, we're at the last part of the install. Again, I'm gonna put these metal clips just a little bit up, make it line up just a little bit better. Maybe these are all custom made and yours is different, but for mine, I have to definitely have these up just a little bit. Now again, you're going to use this knob to manually open it up all the way. Slide it on there, make sure your wires are inside. They give you 4 screws that are the same length. They're a little bit smaller than the ones you use to actually fasten it down. Now again, you want to use a screwdriver with this because there's barely any clearance in there. You're gonna put the screw in, you're gonna feel it grab just a little bit, and it's just enough to get it going. If you put an impact on this, you're gonna strip it right out. So once you get it started, move on to the next one. Yeah, if I didn't move those metal clips up, there'd be no way. I mean, I can just see a sliver of what it's supposed to look like. Okay, get the last one in. You can go ahead and just tighten this one down all the way and go back around and tighten them all down. And that's it. Whole thing is installed. Everything you need, up top anyways. Bam, it's done. This is what it looks like from the underneath. Sorry, it's dark as hell out now. Looks good. Then you just turn this dial to make sure it's closed when you drive, but that's about it. We'll be leaving the wiring here for now to hook up later. And that is how you install a MaxxAir Fan on your new or super used Sprinter van. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up. If I left anything out, or if you guys saw me do something that didn't make sense, or if I just did something super stupid, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Leave the question in the comments. Let me know I'm stupid in the comments, just because if I'm doing something wrong, we want to let everybody know. If you got any value out of this video, please hit the like button. It helps my channel out tremendously. If you want any of those products that I mentioned before, click the Amazon links in the description. It helps me out. If this kind of content interests you, hit the subscribe button. I put a video out every single week. Not all of it is the van build, but if you want to see the progression of the van build, hit the subscribe button because it will be coming out. My main focus of my channel is landscape photography and going out and traveling and doing landscape photography. If that interests you, hit the subscribe button as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. I don't know what I'm doing next, but we'll figure it out. I'll see you. Bye.